Recording. Okay, thank you everyone. Happy Friday. I'm sure you've all had a pretty full week as the rest of us, and really glad to see you all. Let's call this meeting to order for the Colorado Forest Health Council's Legislative Committee. I'm Chair Larimer County Commissioner Joy Shabak-Nally. Welcome you all. We are having a full meeting today, and let's do roll call to make sure we have quorum.
Okay, Samantha Albert.
Present. Good to see you all.
Good morning, Samantha. Pat Dorsey. Looks like she's not with us. Christina Berry.
Morning.
Morning, Christina. Commissioner Jody Shabak-Nally.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mark Morgan.
Good morning.
Good morning. Julie Stencil.
Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. Commissioner Veronica Medina.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. And Allison Lurch.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. All right. Well, thank you. And I know Julie is traveling to some remote areas, so she is on the line, and I know we'll if she can listen in or speak, we'll be a little give her a little bit of support, as I know what it's like to be trying to do that at the same time. Okay. Thank you all for the work that you have done. And let's go to the first item on our agenda, which is, I believe, our approval of the minutes from our, I think, did we get that agenda approval?
I emailed you, Jody. I shared accidentally the meeting minutes from two meetings ago, and so I actually don't have the ones from last meeting, so we have to.
So let's we'll just pause on that, and I apologize. I was in a lot of meetings the last 2 days, and down in Denver a couple days in a row, and I have not caught up with. So we'll go ahead and pause on that, and then and take that to just kind of do those next time. So let's talk about an update on the current legislation. And where that's at. And I don't know, Allison or Courtney, did you have any ones you wanted to update on? I know that we have gotten out of committee. The Wildfire Interim Committee, I think, is really important to share. That one looks like we won't have is that my understanding? That one has not passed out the Wildfire Interim Committee to continue that?
Yeah, let me do a little brief. Commissioner, if you don't mind, I'll just give a very brief update.
That would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, so I think the bill you're referring to is Senate Bill 26089, which is called Recreate Wildfire Matters Interim Committee. And that bill is sitting in appropriations right now and is kind of stalled oh, Commissioner, I'm hearing a little background noise, but
yeah, I got that. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. So Senate Bill 26089 is sitting in appropriations and stalled, as I was saying, as a few bills are also sort of in that place. So it's kind of a wait and see right now how fast or slow it may move through appropriations. But I want to share another bill related to our interim committees, which is House Bill 261331. Which is called 2026 Interim Committees. And this bill is out described as putting a pause. If this gets through the legislative session, this bill actually pauses all interim committees for the next fiscal year, for the next legislative session. So we are having some internal conversations right now about whether or not we can provide input on ensuring that the Wildfire Matters Review Committee could be reinstated, whether 089 passes or not, or if 1331 does pass as well. So I'll be able to have a little bit more of an update on how those conversations are going at our full council meeting. I think regardless right now, what we're seeing is that the energy is moving towards all interim committees being paused. for this summer. And the only other one I want to share is I want to share two more. House Bill 261184, which is our bill, the Sunset Process Forest Health Council bill. And so that one is up in Senate Ag Committee this actually the day of our full council meeting next Thursday. So I'll be stepping out to testify on the bill during our meeting. But I don't know if you're all aware, that one has an amendment that's been approved to remove legislators from the council. So the amendment now reads that it's a 24 member council, where it was 26 before. As I said, that has to get through House Ag. There could be other amendments that we don't know of right now, but I should also be able to update you all. Maybe I'll have Dan update everyone during his agency update portion of the meeting next Thursday. Go ahead, Commissioner Waters.
Good morning. Thank you. Quick question about that last bill you just briefed. Do legislators is removing the amendment to remove the legislators from the council? Is that because are legislators paid when they are attending our meetings, or is there any do you have any further details about like that amendment and what prompted it?
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. And Courtney, feel free and hop in too if you want to add. But I believe this amendment comes, yes, from the funding necessary for travel to be a part of these meetings and just funding in general. So yeah, it's definitely a funding issue.
And that's kind of what I had heard too.
And then Mark Morgan has his hand raised.
Mr. Morgan.
I don't want to splitting hairs here, but define legislators, who's under that and who isn't under that.
Courtney, do you have it off the top of your head of our two? Don't we have two legislators that are part of our committee or our council?
Yeah, we have one member from the Senate and one member from the House. So right now it's Representative Larry Don Sukla and Senator Cutter.
I just wanted to distinguish that it's not county commissioners. Okay.
Yeah, no, not county commissioners. Yep, good question. Just very briefly, I'm not gonna, I'm sorry, I have just something in my throat really quick. We have a huge success. I believe I might have shared it the last meeting. I'm sorry if I didn't, because I think I've been out of town. House Bill 261184, sunset, minus House Bill 261213, pardon me. Nope, my list is so funny. Let me do it one more time. House Bill 261205. Thanks for your patience with me. Is the Colorado State Forest Service Good Neighbor Authority bill that came out of one of our legislative recommendations for last year. It's a huge success. It's passed both the House and the Senate and appropriations. And now we are in conversations about a potential bill signing coming up here shortly. So we are very excited to see that one move through. And that is a big win. And it really moved through very, very quickly. I think those are really the bills that are at the forefront right now to share an update about.
Thank you, Allison. And I believe I've heard from some of the legislatures, even though they know some of the interim committees or positions are changing, they're looking for suggestions and ideas of how to stay informed. And a comment from the legislator who called and said they're a scientist, but they also, as they were learning about some of the things that are happening in all this work, it was like, wow, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know it was happening. And so there was a conversation at the table about how can we put in one place for everyone, special legislators, all the things in certain, subject areas. So I just wanted to share that feedback because they would love to. They realize a lot of their colleagues and them are not maybe understanding all the things that are happening or are in process, so that they don't try to run bills or try to do actions for things that are already done or in process or happening. So I just wanted to share that. Well, thanks, Allison. Mr. Morgan.
I'm trying to understand this a little bit here. The legislator piece of this, that they can't be on the commission, is a financial consideration. How much money are we talking about? Because I just, I'm a little bit confused by that.
Mark,
Anybody?
I really don't know off the top of my head how much funding that is, but I would love to ask our acting legislative director, Sarah Hamming, to get some more information and share so we can have a little bit more depth into that.
Well, I think if we have legislators that are interested enough to do this, we need that connection to be able to get the work done. And so if that's the case, I mean, if it's an incidental amount of money, can we look for money from somewhere else? I mean, I hate to do anything that limits communication on the very subjects that we're trying to get the work done on. So that's all.
Commissioner Medina.
And good morning. And I don't want this to sound negative, but I think exactly what Allison said. We definitely need more information. But as elected officials, when we want to stay informed and be involved, we go whether we're paid or not. So if it really interests them and they want to be knowledgeable what's happening, I mean, they don't actually have to travel. They could always Zoom in. So I think there's other ways around it. When you want to know what's happening with your constituents and things that matter to you, you just get involved.
Thank you, Commissioner. Allison.
James just chatted me one very brief update that I wanted to share. And this, I'm trying to prepare a more in-depth update of Senate Bill 23-005, a bill we all know very well, the workforce bill. But so I'm going to prepare a longer update for our meeting next Thursday. But a lot of bills are held up in appropriations right now because we're waiting for the long bill to pass. And in the long bill, though, at least right now, the Colorado State Forest Service internship section and appropriations are there. There's a line in there to give the internships another year of funding for next fiscal year. So I just wanted to share that. And this is, of course, barring the long bill, that it doesn't get amended between now and when it passes. So I'll have some more information about Senate Bill 5 when it comes to internships and other aspects next week.
Thank you. And I did talk with the Mayor House Speaker Pro Tem and some other and the Senate President last night in Denver and discussions. And I certainly know that's kind of their focus for the next week. It's just the long discussions over the long bill and everything. So I think, us all keeping an eye on, we may not have answers by Wednesday. So we might have to, yeah. So I just wanted to kind of set expectations. As we all know, there's even more of a deficit than was originally projected at the beginning of this session. So just wanted to kind of give everyone a little, thoughts that, well, sometimes we're going to have to just be patient and wait and see how this all goes. But great news about our Good Neighbor Authority bill. So, okay, well, there's no other questions. Let's move on and we're talking about the 2027 legislative priorities, which we kind of voted on last week. And I want to just thank you all. A lot of you, we pushed really hard to get those done so that they could be kind of vetted through the appropriate channels and be ready for next week. So I wanted to just kind of paraphrase that these have, we kind of voted on them last week. Just going to review them again a little bit, but I don't know if we want to open up the discussion fully. We can have, if you have some issues or questions, we can probably have those next week for the full council, but I wanted to kind of share that I really am proud of the work you all have done and the discussions through a really difficult conversations with resource constraints and increasing need and conditions worsening that we all are kind of on a bit hyper alert vigilance of where our conditions of our forest. So I just wanted to say, give ourselves a high five. We worked through a lot of things, and I just wanted to thank you all for hanging in there, especially that last meeting where we just kind of, we worked very hard to get those done. And I want to thank Courtney and Allison for helping us kind of pull that together. And I think James and some others helped kind of craft some of that language. So if you'll look at those real quick, or maybe we just share a screen, then we can all be looking at the same thing, if you wouldn't mind, Courtney. And then, yeah, Courtney did an incredible job. I agree, Allison, just outstanding. And just wanted to say well done and thank you, because we wrangled with what we know we need to do, because inaction's for me, not an option. And so we were able to come up with some good ones. And I think we have one that's kind of interesting. So first, we talked about acknowledge the importance of forest health and wildfire mitigation funding. The Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Plan, the Forest Restoration and Wildfire Risk Mitigation Grant Program, and Healthy Forest Vibrant Communities. Allison, I don't know, did you do another update that the bill that, you said 1310 didn't make it out of committee, right? I think I heard that, right? The one that was going to swap.
1310, I didn't talk about 1331.
31, the one that was, yeah.
That's
the one that was going to, yeah.
That's the interim committee one, yes.
Well, and then the one about, maybe it's 13, the one Rep Story had to take the 1030.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, that one did not make it out of committee, by the way, for everyone. Quite a united effort trying to be respectful, but it did not, it failed 9-2, or I don't remember. It was
a 3-10 vote. And yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry I didn't update, but that was the bill that was to transition funding from the Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program to DFPC's Wildfire Resilient Homes Grant Program. And that did die in committee.
So before I take we could move on, we had voted last week to take an opposition position. Should we still bring that forward to the Forest Health Council, that even though it's dead in committee, we have recommended opposition to that, just to highlight it for the other members who may not have understood that bill was there and what was happening?
Yeah,
I'm just
I think
curious.
you can highlight that, definitely. But now that we don't have to take a position, that's great too.
Yeah. So just wanted to kind of make sure folks knew kind of things were happening. So first, back to the recommendations. The forest, hopefully you read all these things. Great job with the language. And so I think us acknowledging and really stating that clearly to the Forest Health Council, that this is something that we need to kind of state and just, and the action is that the recommendation is that we do draft a letter to the Joint Budget Committee reiterating the importance of statewide funding for forest health and wildfire mitigation programs. So we don't have to have that letter done. This is just approval for us to have that letter and to forward that. So I'm assuming that would be something we would do if it's approved by the Forest Health Council Full Force Health Council, we would work over the next few months and submit that earlier than later, Allison, so they have time to, but we want to do it while this budget decision is happening, right? I mean, for the next, they're going to probably go right into the next cycle. But I'm also wondering, Allison, if we have that letter, if we should add that once a new administration is established, we should send the same letter to the next administration when appropriate, so they have that reference letter as well. Courtney, your hand's up.
I've never worked with a letter like this. I guess in my mind, it's something that I know that the council would draft it, but do we need to wait? Well, it's interesting because there's no interim committee. So it's not
Right.
like how do we get called to do this? Like, this is a recommendation that the committee of reference, so like it's likely like Senate Ag and Natural Resources send a letter to the JBC. Like, do we wait until they like pick this up and they say, yeah, we do think this is important, please write a letter? Or like, what is the order of operations?
I'm not sure about that. I think I don't know, they would probably not have time since we might have to suggest a reference letter, in my opinion, because they would maybe not have the reference for, but then, recommend them. But I'm also wondering if we also have them send a letter of reference, not only to JBC, but also, well, Allison has her hand raised. I'm sure she's going to answer that question, because I'm wondering, we also probably need to have it go to the executive branch as well.
Yeah,
Allison.
thanks, Commissioner. I just want to offer that, I'd just like to pull in either at one of our meetings or just communicate with Sarah, our new Director of Legislative Affairs, about what the most effective timeline of this is. I can see a two-part, I could see us doing a two-part letter on this, and depending on, I definitely agree that we should prepare something for the incoming governor and gubernatorial transition. I don't know if that's the same as what we are, as what we're proposing here. I think it definitely could be, but I think we should do a couple efforts. So I'll ask Sarah about, I don't know if it's going to be a wait and see, because there still is a potential we have interim committees, right? We just really have to know that we don't have any committees this summer. But yeah, it would go to our legislative committees, which don't meet until legislative session, right?
And that's why I was wondering, because that might be a little too far down the road.
Yep.
And so,
Yeah, absolutely. So let me talk with Sarah about this, about strategy for the summer, and what type of outreach might be the most appropriate.
so should we change, should we just put a caveat at the end that we're having, even though that we recommend a county appropriate committee of reference, that we have a question out and a caveat that we think we might need to send this letter to another, and whatever recommendation to the gubernatorial transition team, or the gubernatorial what they call commissioner-elect or governor-elect, just to have a head of schedule, and maybe just put a caveat, and we can kind of adjust that once we figure out the appropriate avenue it is. Mr. Morgan.
It looks like we're talking about possibility of two time frames and two places we want to go with it. What's the harm in doing both and being repetitious about it? I think you reach out to both and they do both time frames. It doesn't hurt to get on people's radar and then reiterate what you're trying to do.
That's a great idea. Couldn't help to be repetitive. Maybe we do all three, too early, and then one to the reference and to the committee, and just to send to the JBC to kind of raise us up to the top of the thought list again. So that's a great suggestion. So should we just kind of leave it as is, and then we wait till we have some suggestions back from Sarah and Allison, and then, but I still think this is kind of important just to keep that going. And certainly by the time we are meeting as a Full Force Health Council again, we might have more evidence for us to kind of put a big exclamation point on why this is important, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Okay, let's move on to number 2, because I don't see anybody have any problems with number 1. Number 2 was adopt the Colorado's 2055 vision for the Forest Health Council in Colorado. And we were just going to ask for the adoption and implementation by policy makers, leaders and implementers and residents, and recommends the General Assembly pass a resolution recognizing the Colorado Forest Health Council new vision. And I was in last week on the floor of the Senate, and they passed one for farmers market and a resolution. It seemed like a fairly simple process. So I think this definitely is a good one to have it read. I wanted to just note you all at the Mountain Pine Beetle first task or in-person task force meeting a couple of days ago. The picture in the Colorado Forest Health Vision was referenced as a good a document to be referencing to, and they had pictures of the a big 8.5 by 11 printed out of the artist rendering, our front, the vision and the artist rendering. And that actually, the news station panned over the picture for about 2 to 3 seconds. And so that was on the Denver News, which was broadcast. So that was kind of cool, free press for our 2055 vision. And I don't know if Allison and Courtney saw that, but that was pretty exciting to see it on TV. Mr. Morgan.
I saw that as well, and I thought the same thing. When I think about this, the vision statement, when you're working with steel, the toughest steel there is hammer forged. That's, everybody beats it and they beat it into shape before they finish machining it. Well, this document has been hammer forged by everybody, and I can't imagine that it isn't about as good as you're going to get. And so I think it should be an easy sell. It has truly been hammer forged.
That's a great analogy and story, a picture in the mind of that vision was definitely a work, a collaborative partnership work. That's a great vision. It makes me think almost of kind of a Vikings thing too. And I've seen some of those movies. So anyway, so I think this one's still good to go unless I have someone with strong opposition. All right, let's move on to 3. I don't see any hands, so you're going to have to raise your hand. Workforce development. I'm hoping you all read this. This is mostly just a committee of reference to indicate this is still a priority and to support, however possible, investments in prioritization of this issue. I happen to sit next to Director Mike Morgan this week at the Pine Beetle Task Force, and we had a conversation as we were talking about how to collect all of the resources and look for redundancy or duplication of efforts to try to leverage resources. And I asked him and talked about, hey, boy, it would be great for Fire Commission and Forest Health Council, because you did that, you got that funding and helped get those high school internship for in my district. And he goes, yeah, that's great. And he says, that's something probably we didn't even think about, that we both had workforce development things we'd like to do together. So I just wanted to kind of think also that might be a point to make, that in this time of resource scarcity, if we're all working on the same workforce development, that maybe all those efforts coming together might be a good way to get things done and passed through the legislature if there is any more money in the near future, but also to protect certain resources. Mr. Morgan.
I'm not proposing anything, but I found it interesting at the Oregon Logging Show there at the end of February, which is a large regional show on the West Coast for equipment and logging industry and training. They arranged for, I can't remember, I think it was like 1,700 high school students to tour through that during, and I'm always interested in at that high school level And I thought that was really unique that they had special sessions and training for it. They're in the same position we are as far as workforce development and labor. And I think they had 1,700 high school kids tour through that in that day and a half or 2-day show. I thought that was pretty interesting because they're facing the same problem.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And again, I'm thinking about collaboration and leveraging resources together. About 3 or 4 years ago, school districts in Larimer County, I'm not sure who paid for the busing to take, CTE, career technical education, is just still a huge thing in our area where they don't have enough spots at the CTE center. They just have more students wanting to do this than they have spots. And so someone a few years ago paid for the busing for the students to go, and they had at our ranch complex, which is the county, which they had to rent, just all the trades, and they had some forestry things and some sheet metal, and they had so many activities from those industry and organizations for students to try that were safe and things, and just to open the possibilities. And so just putting a note in that too, that might be something just to explore, since schools are also looking, another partnership to just get students exposed in a unique and different way. So I'm going to just leave it in, and I think you said James was going to have some anything to add to this. Again, it's just a committee of reference just to support investments. We don't really have, we have some ideas of some programs that are happening, and I don't know if we need that letter could be developed, but anybody have any concerns about this one going forward? Just a recommendation. Okay, let's move on to number 4. So we have some time for the other items on the agenda. And so this is our unique one, increase weight limits for trucks transporting forestry products. And so we've heard from a various partners, as we know, and so this might be a coordination of efforts through to look at how I think it's going to be a very narrow, specific instance, because I know if we try to open this up for all things, it would be a really hard, heavy lift to get that across the finish line if we did it everywhere, but very specific for this need. And so, Mr. Morgan, I see.
I found a piece of this puzzle Tuesday at a meeting for the timber purchasers meeting for the Arapahoe Roots Belt National Forest. And I brought this up at that point because I was trying to find out what the process would be. And I found it really interesting that the contracting officer stated that weight restriction on forest roads, which is a huge piece of what the industry would need, can be negotiated on a case-by-case basis on a forest-by-forest basis. So that ability to get up to the 97,000 pounds for forest and secondary roads, not even talking about interstate, which is going to be a lot thornier problem. But as far as forest roads, mirroring the Colorado weight limits, that can be negotiated forest by forest and contract by contract with your contracting officer. Because I was trying to find out whether this took direction from Washington or where the authority had to come from. But the contracting officer, Tim Kerrigan, stated that he would be happy on this forest to negotiate those on an individual basis, on a forest by forest basis. So I think that's a huge help for us. That's probably 1/3 of what the industry would need right there to instantaneous. It can be done now. It's an educational thing, but we could never get that information from the Forest Service in the past. So I think that's huge.
Could you write that down or type that up and send that so we have that so I can share that, because that would be important. But I think we don't have jurisdiction over that as legislature, but knowing that that's a piece that someone says, well, first part is the Forest Service road. So if we say, well, we think we found out you could do this, then we have the other portions. So that's great. If you wouldn't mind writing down those details, that would be great. Courtney, your hand's up.
Yes, I want to give a little more context and then maybe ask some questions, especially from Mark. I met with I can't remember his title, but this man from CDOT who essentially is in charge of heavy load permitting and also their director of legislative affairs, and they seem interested in exploring this. And what the man said is that he needs to know exactly what the challenges are. He needs to know what the trucks are that you're driving, how many trailers, how many axles. Like, so what I will need help with, Mark, is pulling together the people that actually understand the landscape of the challenge. Like, what is the weight? What is the road? Like, this is good to know. And also, you know, CDOT has influence over Colorado roads, not Forest Service roads. But I think to kind of lay out the challenge will be helpful. He also said there's things like bridges that like he has no control over that will always have their own limits. But I think my ask for you, Mark, and I could also just give you a call, is figuring out who has the details of the challenge. And this to me seems like the perfect example of what like a subject matter group, like a subject matter committee could be. It could be like this transportation weight challenge, and like a smaller group who wants to talk about this could meet.
From the
But I
end,
definitely want to get some experts in front of the CDOT folks.
from the industry side of this, we had a meeting about this afterwards and was working on it, and we're working on it now.
Right.
And parts of it are really complicated, and parts of it are pretty simple. In just cutting to the chase so that people understand, Colorado has a generalized weight limit, and you can have all kinds of individual restrictions. A generalized weight limit on secondary roads and highways is 85,000 pounds. And the interstate is 80,000 pounds. And Colorado, you can buy a heavy haul permit for 97,000 on those secondary roads and state roads, which the gravel industry, all other kinds of industries do all the time. It's an extra $500 a year in tax. And what the Forest Service in the past has not allowed that, they haven't honored that 97,000 permit on forest roads. So by them being willing to do that, then if you buy your permit, you're 97,000 on forest roads, secondary roads. So unless you're going out on the interstate, that's a huge win right there. The caveat there is the Forest Service is going to protect their bridges. If they've truly got a bridge problem within that haul route, they're going to say no. The county is going to do the same thing. The county doesn't want to destroy their roads or whatever. And so they're going to get their ore in the water, but they already, gravel haulers and cement haulers and everybody, this is a regular thing and it's a common thing. The real hard nut to crack will be the interstate. For in Colorado, the two interstates really quarter up your state. So it really limits you. That's going to be a much tougher one. And that's where the Colorado motor carriers can come in. But this first piece, from an industry standpoint, for the forest industry, that's one we now know apparently can be done with the stroke of a pen and a little bit of research on a case-by-case basis. And to me, that's a breakthrough thing. Does that clarify it at all for you? And
It gives a little bit more context, but like I'll need someone who knows that in the meeting with CDOT.
Right. And that's what I was asking if maybe Mr. Morgan could write that down so that when I kind of introduce this, I can kind of give some general details. And then if I need to call a friend, I can refer to Mr. Morgan to provide some more details. The issue that I want to bring up is, and Mr. Morgan was correct, counties are going to put ore in the water and they're not going to be happy that because there is such, I mean, we have 900 miles worth of roads and we have all these bridges that are over 50 years old and we didn't get a tax pass. So we don't have funding to fix, to have those, and some of them need to be updated. So I persist with my staff and if as long as it's not too hot and these parameters, but I think that we have to look at these as areas and we have to look at what is the problem, but we're going to have to make sure from the very beginning we have counties and their road and bridge departments in some capacity, which I will volunteer to be on that crew because I don't. My road and bridge director has been around for 20 plus years.
I know
and,
Todd well.
Yeah, I know Todd, and he's real gruff, but he's going to speak as it is, and he will work. He'll see the value in this, but he's really constrained, and luckily, we have a little bit in the budget because we didn't have to snowplow. I was supposed to go on a snowplow ride this year, but I didn't get to. So it would be the one thing I haven't got to do. So I would say we definitely, a subject matter group, I think is really important. Courtney, I think you're exactly right on that, but we got to make sure at the very beginning, we have all the stakeholders with all those pieces of road. It's not, I mean,
I think-
well, I'm thinking about the pathway. You got U.S. Forest Service, you'll have counties, you'll have private roads, and everyone's going to want to make sure that if there's a heavier load and wear and tear, they're going to want some kind of help with maintenance. So just kind of bringing that up.
What I'm trying to say here, though, is we're not asking for anything different than you're already doing. That's what I'm getting at. This piece, if you get the Forest Service side of this piece, you're already doing these for all the other industries in the state, but they don't generate their load on the forest. So we generate the load. So that's the piece. That's one of the two pieces we've really been missing. All your protections already exist on your county roads. And all your bridge restrictions. It doesn't matter whether you're hauling logs or whether you're hauling gravel or whether you're hauling cement or whether you're hauling feed or whatever. It's that Forest Service piece is huge. And that's
Yeah.
that can take the stroke of a pen.
Well, and that's maybe what we bring with the recommendations. And the recommendation is to explore raising the weight limits and looking at that. So we don't have to have the whole thing. This is a recommendation, and you're bringing a really important piece. And so if you could write that down, we can get this done. I still think this is something that would be a very good partnership and bill to do in these times that we're trying to reduce transportation costs, which we all know. Dealing with biomass and also the stuff has been something we've been trying to wrestle to try to tackle in some way. So if everyone's okay with this going forward as is and we'll bring some of this other information in the meeting to the staff, to our Forest Health Council, I think that's important. But I want to give us some time. We have two other things we need to address today, but go ahead and let's move to 5 so we can get to the other items on the agenda because we need to kind of approve or get those done today. So update on the regulation for biochar with flame kilns. And so this is, great, thanks for addressing that, Bill. Someone had mentioned that to me, but there's a similar bill. And so we need to look at that. So there's, the similar bill. Yep. So this one, I think, is still a good one to do, especially for smaller counties and things, because that's one thing we still had trouble with. Even our air curtain burners was just getting that permit and getting some of those things done. And right now, I think any way we can reduce barriers for dealing with the biomass is a great thing. And so just not to push us along, but unless someone has a huge aversion to this, Courtney did a great job in adding this. So anybody have any questions about this? All right, let's move on. Thank you all again. And Mr. Morgan, once again, you are invaluable with getting some of those pieces and questions and answers that we would not have. And I want to just say thank you, thank you, thank you. You are an invaluable asset. And I just want to make sure you know how you are, and we're going to clone you and keep you forever. So just so you say, you're not going, I want you to know how much we value you. So, all right, let's move on. Mr. Morgan, go ahead.
No, I just said thank you very much. With this group, we have to win as a group. This is a team sport right here, and I appreciate everybody's efforts, and I really do. And from the industry side of things, I'm going to go down to a meeting next week, and then the group just gets smaller and older and smaller and older, and we got to change this up around here. We really do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on to the next item, which I think we're talking about the other two administrative items. Would you pull that up again, Courtney, just the agenda so we remind everyone? We've got 15 minutes, so right, we have just an hour today. Samantha and Courtney, we're going to work on the administrative recommendation. And Samantha, you want to speak to that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So after speaking with Courtney and Allison, we kind of realized that there's a bunch of state resources across OEDIT, Energy Office, even the Public Health Department that organizations could qualify for. There's some capital stacking opportunities there. So we're trying to figure out a good way to kind of organize some of the most beneficial resources into probably a one-pager. I will note that someone pointed me to the Colorado Energy Office. Their climate team has a website that actually includes a lot of these resources already. So I'm kind of trying to figure out the best way. Maybe it's via QR code or a quick link, just on that one pager, and then highlighting some of the most beneficial and easy to access resources. One I do want to note that's been very underutilized is CDPHE's Circular Economies program. There's a lot of money in that program right now. And so that could be an interesting way to kind of stack other resources. So that's what I just wanted to highlight. It will be included on that one pager in some capacity, but yeah, I'm working on it.
Awesome. And maybe we can, I hope that we can still present this, and hopefully we can get that into, get that out to us before it goes. Courtney, go ahead. Sorry, but some of the state legislators also, my phone started popping, all these representatives from the General Assembly, like, I need to talk to you. I don't know what's going on. So sorry, I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, just thinking about timing. I mean, one reason, I mean, it's interesting. We did it in February. Originally we hoped to put these legislative recommendations out in February so they could go to the agencies. We were able to move that and say, okay, we want to approve them in April so that they can go to the interim committees. But also, if the interim, I'm just speaking to the timeline of this item. Like, of course, if it's an administrative recommendation for OEdit, it can sort of happen at any time. So Samantha, if you are able to get it before next week, that's great. But I also think if it's not ready, like if other people in your organization have to review this, if you need to coordinate with other agencies, I don't think this is time crunched. Like, I think this also could happen at the summer meeting. And then it could be produced in the fall, and we could even link to it in our annual report or something like that. So it's interesting with the interim committee no longer being active, like that time crunch is a little disappointing.
Yeah, I would love to target the summer meeting, mostly because of your point about reviews. I just want to make sure that our leadership is okay with it. And I also want it to be well designed. I could put something together in a Google Doc that would be like anyone accessing a random web page. So I'll work on getting it designed. And if we can target that summer meeting, that'd be great. But I'm happy to chat about it certainly during the meeting next week.
Great. Oops, it's our turn to put this as, but Sam and team, I'm really interested in having a convo with the State Revolving Loan Fund this week about the use of SRLF for wildfire projects with the nexus to water quality, something to consider for the leveraging resources. Yeah, I think that would be something to bring back to that community. So yes, I think recommendation, I think that's great. And I wasn't sure how that looked, but certainly we want to do it right. And I appreciate that. So let's move on to the next one. I flipped those agenda items. I apologize, but I wanted to, I'm just in the amount of time, just trying to make sure we get through that. Now, Commissioner Medina had mentioned at Club 20, I don't know, was it a month ago, Commissioner Medina, that they had been very alarmed and were going to be sending a letter or concerned about the cuts to the U.S. Forest Service ranger offices and things. And as we know, since that our meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, it's all blur now. I think it was last week. There's been changes with some announcements in the last 24 hours, 48 hours about how the reorganization, or however you want to talk about it. And fortunate for Fort Collins, we're getting to keep the research things here, and the USDA office or headquarters is coming to Fort Collins. So it's great for us, but also still some cuts to some of those programs. So I haven't got a chance to connect with Commissioner Medina. I did work on some language over the last couple of days, trying to ink out some time to think about this. I know this is on Congressman Negus's radar, and I'm sure some other congressional delegation from Colorado. So I don't know, Commissioner Medina, if you had started on a draft. I have a little bit of draft, but I also wanted to ask Courtney and Allison, with the changes and restructuring, what, and Governor Polis kind of giving some comments the last 24 hours on this. How do we move forward with what are we asking in the letter and ideas like that? Mr. Morgan.
I would like to understand from Commissioner Medina, are you concerned about losing the individual district rangers as part of their impact and part of the hub of your community? Or are you concerned about the ability to transfer information and get timely action? The Forest Service is obviously looking to streamline and realign a lot of their organizational. And are you most concerned about losing a pipeline for information and decisions? Or are you more concerned that there's also a certain amount of economic activity that comes with a Forest Service ranger station in a rural community? And I mean, that is a stable employer, and then they have seasonal people work there. What was help me out with your concerns there.
Thank you. Yeah, really quickly, because I know we're crunched for time, but it was mostly for our rural community, just how that will affect us overall, just in all the things that go on at our ranger station here. And then obviously, after speaking to our local ranger station, just how it will impact them as well for that streamlined communication. I know this is being sold as it will streamline processes and communication, which in reality, I think it's going to, it'll extend that timeline versus making it more streamlined. I think it'll be more cumbersome. So short answer.
So you think it's both? It's an impact on your community and also the communication side of it.
Correct.
So I started a draft, Commissioner Medina, and I have kind of both those things in it, very high level. If you all don't mind, I'm just going to share it, if that's all right with you, Courtney and them. It's very high level, but just talking about seasonal rangers and concerns about this change of realization during the fire season. So it's very, very rough. So if you don't, would that be okay to everyone? I share just something I had tried to pull together? Yes?
Sure.
Thumbs up? Okay.
Yes.
Oops, where is it? There it is. Okay. I don't know if, can we see it? There it is. Whoops, that's not it. Sorry. Let me change it again. I apologize. I've got too many screens up. There it is. And I'll try to put it in the chat, but would everyone want to just peruse it real quick? I mean, I think we'd want to discuss it and have it vetted in lots of ways. So.
Yeah, if you could share it in the chat, that would be great. And then I don't know, does Allison have anything to add? I know, Allison, you emailed me and I didn't get back to you just with all things, but I don't know if Allison or Courtney had anything to add to what's being put out.
As far as any messaging to our U.S. Forest Service partners, is that what you're asking about, Commissioner?
Yeah, just the overall. I know what the governor has put out, but I just don't know. Are we in line with what it is that we're trying to do? I mean, I don't know if you have any other information internally for that.
Yeah, we're really still in the process of discussing. Because the Mountain Pine Beetle Task Force meeting on Wednesday and all of this, I'm actually connecting with our federal policy advisor here at DNR today, as well as my boss, Aaron Ray. So I guess to be continued. I really don't have anything else to add besides what we have right now from that press release and Governor Polis. I don't think we're far off at all, but I just don't have anything conclusive right now from DNR.
Okay, maybe we, trying to get it to open. I'll try to get this sent, and it's just a, like I said, a very high level, but maybe we just, bring it up as a discussion. And I also brought up, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to do this, but to discuss how those seasonal rangers had extinguished in those districts, those 60 fires they found unattended fires in the wilderness in the I think it was White River. So I think, just highlighting, some of the data we know, how important just a return on investment for just couple of seasonal people in those districts, and the importance of that, is immeasurable. So I just put that in there. So it was just a attempt. I hadn't got a chance to connect with Commissioner Medina. So, but maybe we just put in as a recommendation that we wanted to have that maybe by the summer. It would be more formulated, but so at least we can try. So let me know how you all think. I will say I will not be offended. I think it'd be wonderful if you all say, scrap it, start over. I'd be good with that too. So if you can't get that, Courtney, I'll email it to you. So if people can't access it, I don't know how my firewalls are. So we're almost out of time. Let's move on to the next. Oh, Mr. Morgan, I'm sorry. I had to call on you. Go ahead.
For Commissioner Medina, you might want to consider one thing that I see the Forest Service as they streamline all of this. They tend to be an agency of commuters anymore, and they spend a great deal of time on travel and money. And I think if you could, I would lobby for moving people out to their work centers, which were out in the more rural areas, and base them there, put their job description, especially seasonals. I think they need to reopen their work centers and quit spending all their money and travel time. I mean, we see that's constantly an hour and a half commute each way when they should be out there getting their work done. And that puts those work centers were located in the more rural communities. And then you've got somebody right there. I went to a meeting last week in the regional office. You had to get the door unlocked and wait for them to have a meeting at the forest supervisor's office, because they didn't have anybody to staff the office. So I think I would like to see that helps rural communities, that puts people on the ground. And I think there would be a savings there. And I would suggest that you lobby for that in your letter.
Thank you.
All right, I'll email it to you right after this meeting's over, Courtney, because we're almost out of time. The last item was I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of a break because we have this meeting, then we'll have the full Forest Health Council, and that's going to be very robust. And then we would have a meeting after the next one. So I thought, if you're all okay, how about we skip April 17th? Also, there's a lot of work to do with the pine beetle and some of the drought stuff. So I think unless someone has a strong aversion, we'll take a moment just to take that time. And so our next meeting would be then May 1st, May Day, right? Is that what we have, Courtney?
I'm checking. Yes, our next meeting would be May 1st if we canceled the one on the 17th.
And we don't need to take a vote on this, correct? We could just go ahead and, yeah,
we don't have to take a vote.
okay, so we'll do that. We'll see you on May 1st. I'll email that to Courtney. And I just wanted to say,
Why don't, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Will you just email it to the full committee? Like I sent the agenda out yesterday, and if you would just reply to that, I think that
Okay.
everyone will get it quicker if you just send it to the full committee.
And can I do that?
Mhm.
I'll just say for information only, since we're not.
Yeah,
so I
the
just
only
kinda
thing that
taking care
can't
of
be private is if
decision.
decisions are being made. So like
Yeah.
everybody's welcome to share information with each other.
Well, I'm just gonna put in for information only, so we don't get a reply all and making,
Yeah,
So-
as long as everyone's in a BCC commissioner, then when they reply, they're only replying to you.
Thank you. So I'll do that. Appreciate everyone's time today. And thank you, Courtney and Allison. You guys are doing a tremendous amount of work right now and a lot of heavy lifting. And I just want to say thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you in my county next week, and appreciate all the work you're doing. Mr. Morgan, as always, you are just invaluable, and I hope you have a great day, and happy Easter to everybody. So
Thank
Happy-
you.
Thank you all. Have a great
Bye-bye.
weekend.
thank you all.
Courtney?
You too.